The galaxy did not breathe when the execution feed began. It simply watched, frozen in a terrible quiet that stretched through every relay station and polished corridor of the Galactic Empire. Two human women, General Renee Carter and General Lila Montgomery, stood on the obsidian platform of the Imperial Citadel, wrists bound, backs straight, eyes defiant. Even in the shadow of the monstrous broadcast spire, with 1 billion alien citizens tuned in, they refused to look afraid. Their calm faces unsettled their executioners more than any weapon could have. The Empire intended this broadcast to be a warning, a spectacle, a triumphant blow against the species they believed most annoyingly resilient. The executioner, a towering Vorthan commander plated in volcanic armor, stepped forward. His voice reverberated in metallic echoes as he announced the charges: espionage, aggression, defiance of imperial authority. Lies, of course, but lies spoken confidently. General Carter exhaled slowly. "You're making a mistake," she said softly, almost kindly. General Montgomery added, "And we don't fix your mistakes for free." Their humor, even at the edge of death, rattled the armored warriors. Several alien officers shifted uneasily. Humans had strange habits, cracking jokes at funerals, laughing when something exploded near them, offering snacks during hostage situations. No alien species understood it, yet every species feared the moment humans stopped joking entirely. The blade fell in 2 swift arcs of molten light. The galaxy trembled. For 3 full seconds after the feed ended, everything, every orbiting station, every crystalline marketplace, every battlefield, remained frozen in collective disbelief. Then the Empire's High Chancellor ordered the final transmission, a forced message to Earth, declaring victory over their most dangerous generals and demanding immediate surrender. Earth responded sooner than anyone anticipated. The screen flickered open to reveal a single human, standing at a podium made of simple black steel. Commander Avery Hale, calm, polite, impeccably dressed in a dark suit rather than military gear, looked directly into the camera. There were no flags behind him, no cheering humans, no threats. Only a soft smile that was somehow more terrifying than any weapon. "Thank you for the update," Avery said gently. "Earth acknowledges your message. We will respond shortly. Please stay where you are." He nodded as though he were confirming a dinner reservation. Then the feed cut. Aliens across the galaxy reacted instantly, and chaotically. The Krelmax war clans burst into laughter, believing humans were surrendering politely. The crystalline Seraphi scholars whispered among themselves in frantic tones, warning that humans only smiled like that when preparing something catastrophic. The scaled elders of the Selkrath murmured ancient proverbs about oceans that looked still right before swallowing entire worlds. But the humans did not speak again. They did not rage. They did not mourn publicly. They did not demand revenge. Earth simply fell silent. This silence unnerved even the most arrogant species. Silence was not a human thing. Humans were noisy even in peace, singing in their showers, arguing during sports broadcasts, banging pots during celebrations. But after the deaths of their 2 most beloved generals, not a single human broadcast emerged for hours. Not a whisper of strategy, not a single news update. Except one. A short, quiet announcement from the United Terran Coalition. A funeral would be held at Dawn Point, the ceremonial canyon where only humanity's greatest heroes were honored. The broadcast drew every curious eye in the galaxy. The canyon appeared on screen. A vast, golden expanse carved by ancient earth rivers, lined with marble pillars and flanked by silent crowds. No one carried weapons. No troops marched. Only candles flickered against the wind, forming glowing rivers of light that wound through the valley. Commander Avery Hale walked to the center, carrying 2 folded human flags. His face was composed, but his jaw was clenched tightly enough to crack stone. He knelt, placing each flag atop identical obsidian pedestals. When he finally spoke, his voice was gentle enough to unsettle even friendly species. "Renee Carter and Lila Montgomery," he began, "were not soldiers because they loved war. They were soldiers because they loved peace so fiercely that they were willing to guard it with their lives." The camera drifted over thousands of human faces, calm, solemn, and utterly still. No tears, no shouting, no threats. Grief, sharpened into something dangerously serene. Avery continued. They believed kindness was strength. They believed mercy was strategy. And they believed the galaxy could be better. Then he looked up, directly into the lens. And because they believed in that hope, the Empire took them. A low murmur trembled through the crowd. Not anger, but something deeper. Something the galaxy had always failed to understand about humans. Today, we honor their memory, Avery said softly. And we honor the cost of peace. A gentle wind stirred the candlelight, scattering sparks like tiny stars. The canyon echoed with a silence so profound that even the wind seemed afraid to intrude. Then, unexpectedly, Avery smiled. A soft, peaceful, utterly polite smile. The kind a human might give just before deciding to flip a table. I ask the galaxy to remember one thing, he said, voice calm as still water. We are not at war. Aliens sighed in relief. Some even celebrated prematurely. Avery's smile broadened by a fraction, barely perceptible, yet chilling. We are merely awake. The shift was immediate. Every human in the canyon straightened subtly. Postures tightened. Eyes sharpened. It was as if an entire species inhaled at the same precise moment. A ripple of quiet understanding passed through the watching alien civilizations. This was not grief. This was prelude. Still, Avery's tone remained light, almost conversational. You have seen our sorrow, he said as the candles flickered. In the coming days, you may see our resolve. And should that become necessary, please understand that we did not choose this path. He touched the two flags gently. It was chosen for us. Aliens sensed something shifting, something enormous, inevitable, and terrifyingly coordinated. Rumors spread instantly. Earth fleets withdrawing from trade routes, diplomats vanishing from their posts, every human outpost suddenly going dark. The funeral came to a close with no anthem, no applause. Humans simply bowed their heads in unison, before dispersing like shadows across the canyon. Only Avery Hale remained. He stood before the pedestals long after the candles dimmed, lit by the golden bleeding of sunset. When he finally turned away, the camera followed him a few steps, far enough to catch the flicker of calculation in his eyes. He whispered something so softly that only the closest microphone caught it. They touch two of ours, he murmured. We will touch everything they love. He didn't raise his voice. He didn't need to. A wind swept through the canyon, as though carrying the promise his words invoked. The feed faded to black, but the galaxy did not relax. No one felt safe, not even species allied with Earth. Because for the first time, every civilization understood a truth ancient Earth historians had tried to warn them about. Humans did not rage loudly. They went quiet, cold and focused. And when humans focused, galaxies shifted. A final message appeared on screens everywhere. Text only, and signed, simple, unadorned. Our response begins at dawn. The galaxy stared at the words, chilled by the realization that dawn occurred at different times on different planets. Meaning, somewhere, humanity had already begun. The Galactic Summit Chamber was designed to intimidate. Its towering emerald pillars, its obsidian floor polished to a mirror, its hovering hollow banners proclaiming imperial grandeur. It was meant to reduce every visitor into something small, compliant, and overly impressed. Yet when Commander Avery Hale walked in, carrying nothing but a thermos of coffee and an expression that hovered somewhere between polite interest and faint amusement, the chamber suddenly felt too small for him. Every alien dignitary turned. Some stared with open hostility, others with scholarly caution, and a few with the brittle dread reserved for storms seen on the horizon but feared too late. Avery took his seat with a soft exhale. His posture was relaxed, his suit immaculate, and his dark hair combed backwards with the precise neatness of someone who had made peace with chaos long ago. He unscrewed the lid of his thermos, letting the scent drift through the room. Several aliens recoiled, unsure if the smell was poison, fuel, or some kind of mammalian distress secretion. Avery smiled gently. Coffee, he explained. Earth's second most sacred substance. The insectoid Klee ambassador clicked nervously. And the first? Avery sipped. Revenge, sometimes. But only on weekends. No one laughed. Avery set the thermos down, still smiling slightly, as if he didn't notice the way half the delegates flinched. The Empire had expected humanity to come crawling, begging for mercy after the execution of Generals Carter and Montgomery. Instead, Earth had arrived calm, polite, impeccably dressed, and carrying breakfast. That alone terrified the seasoned diplomats. The Vorthan Chancellor, bulked in layers of volcanic armor, slammed a claw against the table. Human! Your species seeks war by its silence. Avery rested his hands calmly on the table. I assure you, Chancellor, Earth seeks nothing of the sort. We are merely considering our options. The Chancellor snarled. Your funerals were propaganda. Our funerals were funerals, Avery replied softly. Though I understand why that concept might confuse you. He wasn't smiling anymore. That unsettled the room even more than the smile had. The Seraphi Scholar Elder rose slowly, crystalline skin shimmering. Commander Hale, we watched your people fall silent after the executions. Silence is not a human trait. This is disturbing. Silence, Avery murmured, is what you hear before a storm. We're simply giving the galaxy time to prepare its umbrellas. This time, a few aliens trembled. The ambassador of the leafy verdant communion leaned forward, vines twitching anxiously. Our scouts report your fleets withdrawing from trade routes. Your colonies have gone dark. Yes, Avery nodded. We told them to pack a small bag. Travel gets messy during political transitions. Transitions? The Vorthan Chancellor barked. Your empire is collapsing. We don't have an empire, Avery corrected kindly. But the one responsible for murdering our generals seems to be experiencing difficulties. Some species might call that karma. Humans call it Tuesday. Confusion rippled across the chamber. Several alien delegates exchanged panicked whispers. The Seraphi scholar spoke again, voice trembling. Human commander, what does Earth intend? Avery opened his hands in a gesture so casually diplomatic that it chilled the room. We intend peace. Always. Peace is convenient. Peace is efficient. Peace lets us enjoy television. Then he leaned forward. But peace must be protected. And when someone breaks it, violently, publicly, and with the smug confidence of a child playing with fire, humans are obligated to respond. The rear doors burst open as a messenger sprinted inside, skin glowing with frantic biolights. He whispered into the Chancellor's ear. The Chancellor stiffened. Then he glared at Avery, furious and afraid. Human fleets have disappeared entirely from our sensors. Avery raised an eyebrow. Disappeared? That's odd. We told them to go take a walk. A walk? The Klee ambassador squealed. What does that mean? Avery considered thoughtfully. On Earth, a walk implies fresh air, movement, perhaps the occasional dramatic confrontation. Are your fleets attacking? No, Avery assured. They're just repositioning themselves. Strategically. Quickly. Quietly. In a manner some might find unsettling. The Chancellor slammed a fist against the table again, cracking the obsidian. This is war. This is response, Avery corrected gently. War is when humans stop smiling. Several delegates noticed that Avery's smile had vanished completely. That observation spread through the room like spilled electricity. A serpent-like delegate slithered forward. Your silence hides something. What are your people preparing? Avery inhaled slowly. You're all familiar with human history, yes? We are not the oldest species. Not the strongest. Not the most technologically advanced. He folded his hands. But we are exceptionally good at learning from our mistakes. And from the mistakes of others. The Seraphi elder froze. You're referencing the Arctic evacuation. Ah, Avery said mildly. Your scouts did find that. Why evacuate your coldest continent? Because, Avery replied, certain preparations require space, and quiet, and privacy. The Vorthan Chancellor's voice dropped into a growl. What is Earth building? Avery looked him directly in the eyes. Something we hope we won't have to use. That sentence vibrated with a quiet terror no threat could match. The chamber fell into an uneasy stillness. Finally, attempting to regain control, the verdant ambassador forced a gentle tone. "Commander Hale, we must know. Will Earth strike the Empire?" Avery sighed softly, almost regretfully. "Perhaps. Perhaps not. It depends on whether the Empire understands what it has awakened." The Klee ambassador clicked violently. "You humans are unpredictable." Avery nodded slowly. "Yes. Unpredictable, emotional, stubborn, clever, and inconveniently hard to exterminate. A terrible combination for anyone hoping to bully us." A sudden tremor rattled the chamber. Lights flickered. Delegates gasped. A warning shriek echoed from the central spire. "Unidentified distortion wave approaching," a mechanical voice announced. "Source, unknown." Every alien turned toward Avery instinctively. He took a calm sip of coffee. "Ah. Right on time. What did you do?" The Chancellor roared. "Nothing," Avery said with absolute serenity. "But my people did." The spire screen flickered to life, showing a vast nebula pulsing with faint metallic reflections. At first it seemed like dust, harmless, drifting, celestial. Then the reflections aligned. Formations emerged. Hundreds of them. Thousands. Human ships, previously undetected, sliding out of the nebula like shadows stepping into lamplight. Delegates screamed. The Seraphai elder whispered, horrified. "They hid an entire fleet inside a nebula." Avery offered a polite nod. "We learned the technique from ancient fishermen. Netting, drifts, camouflage. Humanity excels at adapting basics." The nebula fleet brightened as every human ship powered up simultaneously. The chamber shook again. Avery stood slowly, fastening the lid back onto his thermos. "Ladies and gentlemen, representatives of the galaxy." His voice softened into something almost tender. "Please remain seated. The next few hours may be educational." The Vorthan Chancellor tried to stand, but his legs trembled. The Seraphai elder whispered, voice breaking. "Commander Hale, what is the name of this operation?" Avery's smile returned. Calm, polite, and terrifying. "We call it Candlefall." The lights flickered again, and the galaxy realized dawn had finally arrived. The nebula pulsed like a living bruise across the stars, its violet fumes drifting in slow, deceptive spirals. Alien commanders watching the feeds could not understand what they were seeing at first. The human fleet emerging from the haze looked like a mirage. Ships gliding in silence, hulls coated in reflective polymers that made them appear half ghost and half shadow. Their movements were impossibly precise, as if choreographed to a song only humans could hear. The Empire had believed them scattered, frightened, perhaps even retreating. Instead, Earth had hidden its strength behind a curtain of cosmic dust and patience, waiting for this exact moment to tear through the galaxy's assumptions. Commander Avery Hale stood at the command dais of the battleship Meridian, observing the unfolding chaos through a panoramic window. His reflection wavered faintly against the starfield. Controlled posture, unreadable eyes, the faintest trace of exhaustion beneath careful poise. Even here, surrounded by tactical officers and humming consoles, he held the same calm he had shown at the summit. Yet a sharper intensity glimmered beneath it now, an edge honed by grief and strategy. He rested one hand lightly against the railing. "They're scrambling," he murmured. "Panic makes even arrogant empires honest." Captain Mara Velen, her uniform immaculate despite the tension, glanced at him. "Do we proceed with Phase 1? Avery didn't answer immediately. He watched a cluster of Empire destroyers spiral into disarray as the Meridian's jamming pulses carved through their communication lattice. Alarms flared on alien bridges, lights blinking, systems collapsing into flickering static. Human ships didn't fire yet, they simply dismantled the Empire's ability to speak, think, or breathe in perfect order. "Proceed," Avery said finally. "Humanity asked for peace. They answered with executions. It's time the galaxy sees consequence." On the Empire's flagship, The Vorthan Chancellor bellowed orders that tangled together in rising desperation. The bridge shook as their navigation array shorted out. Holograms flickered wildly. Officers scrambled, plates clattering, claws scratching across scorched metal. No one could form a coherent explanation for how an entire human armada had vanished from sensors, only to emerge with surgical precision. The Chancellor slammed both fists onto the console. "How are they doing this?" his aide whispered, trembling. "Maybe the humans weren't silent. Maybe they were listening." Back aboard the Meridian, Avery reviewed the next sequence, Operation Veilbreaker, an initiative drafted in the private journals of Generals Carter and Montgomery. Their signatures glowed in the corner of the display, preserved like fragile embers. The sight struck him harder than he expected. He exhaled slowly, steadying himself. Their plan had always been bold. Turn the Empire's confidence into the rope that would unravel it. They had believed the Empire would overreach, expose its cruelty, and give humanity every justification needed. They had been right, at the cost of their own lives. Avery tapped the first command. "Activate all veil charges." Across the nebula, dozens of human frigates released tiny shimmering pods into the void. They drifted gently, like seeds cast into wind. Then they ignited, blooming into luminous clouds of ionized particles. These veil charges, wrapped around the Empire's surveillance systems, rewriting readings in real time. Alien sensors now saw phantom fleets where none existed, and failed to detect actual fleets positioned inches from their hulls. Confusion deepened into terror. Avery watched the false projections flicker across intercepted alien feeds. "Let them chase ghosts," he whispered. "Let them learn what it feels like to be blind." The Seraphi Elder Council, observing from a distant observatory, whispered in horrified admiration. "This is not warfare," one murmured. "This is a demonstration." Another replied, "Humans are revealing what they truly are. Not conquerors. Strategists. Predators who waited until the trap was perfect." Their voices trembled with a mixture of fear and reluctant respect. Few species had ever understood humanity's paradox, a people capable of warmth, jokes, and spontaneous kindness, yet holding a depth of calculation that seemed endless. As the Empire flailed, Avery's thoughts drifted unexpectedly to the last conversation he'd shared with General Carter. She had stood in her office window, gazing at Earth's rotating horizon. "Do you know what terrifies them most?" she had asked. "Not our weapons. Our unpredictability. We cry at movies but laugh at danger. We preserve ancient forests but build machines that can vaporize asteroids. They don't understand how a species can hold contradictions without breaking." Avery had replied quietly, "We're not contradictions. We're choices." Her smile had been proud and soft. That memory burned now, fusing grief with purpose. A sharp tone snapped him back. Captain Velen reported, "Empire fleets attempting countermaneuvers." The screen displayed a desperate pattern. Ships scattering, trying to regroup outside the nebula's boundary. Avery shook his head. "They still think this is a battlefield. It's not. It's a stage." He issued the next command. Human cruisers shifted into a crescent formation, enacting a technique adapted from historical naval strategies. The crescent tightened. Empire vessels found themselves herded, not by gunfire, but by carefully calculated gravitational distortions emitted from human engines. A young officer exhaled in awe. "Sir, we're guiding an entire fleet without firing a shot." Avery's tone was cool. "Efficiency is mercy." The Empire's ships collided in disorganized panic. Their flagship's hull groaned as localized distortion fields bent space around it. Alarms wailed. Officers collapsed at their stations, overwhelmed. The Chancellor shouted, "Find the humans. Fire at anything." But their scanners showed a dozen contradictory positions, none reliable. "We cannot fight an enemy we cannot see." A navigator screamed. "Then you should not have provoked one," the Chancellor snarled, though his voice cracked. Back on the Meridian, Avery issued the final directive of Phase 1. Cut their lifelines. Human drones dispersed, their sleek frames darting between starships. Instead of detonating, Each drone attached itself to key Imperial systems with quiet precision. Engines sputtered. Shields collapsed. Entire battalions found themselves powerless. Avery closed his eyes briefly. Hold positions. No lethal force unless absolutely necessary. Captain Velen hesitated. Sir, many will interpret this as mercy. Avery opened his eyes. It is mercy. But mercy with boundaries. As human dominance crystallized across the nebula, a quiet murmur spread among the alien observers. Humanity had not launched an assault. They had unveiled a truth. The Empire was not the unstoppable titan it claimed to be. It had simply never met an opponent who understood the art of patient fury. Generals Carter and Montgomery had predicted this exact unraveling, leaving Avery with a final note in their shared file. When the veil breaks, show them who we were. And who we could still become. Avery prepared to transmit the next message to the galaxy, his voice steady despite the gravity of what came next. But before he could speak, a new alert flashed, an encrypted signal originating from deep within the Empire's territory, carrying an impossible signature. Avery leaned forward, breath catching as recognition struck him with cold force. The signal belonged to General Lila Montgomery. And it was coming from inside the Imperial capital. The moment General Lila Montgomery's signature appeared on the holoslate, Avery Hale felt the world tilt. Just slightly, just enough for the breath in his chest to become something sharp and electric. She had died. He had watched her die. Every human had. Yet here she was, sending a signal from the heart of the Imperial capital, as if death were merely an inconvenience she had walked around. Captain Velen stared at the reading, stunned. Sir, is it real? Avery didn't blink. It's Lila. 4 words, spoken with the certainty of a commander who had stopped questioning miracles long ago. He opened the transmission line. Static filled the air like distant thunder. Then a voice broke through, raspy, strained, but unmistakably hers. Avery, if you can hear this, Candlefall must accelerate. Her breath hitched painfully. They're coming apart. The Empire is fracturing internally. Its leaders don't trust each other anymore. Static swallowed her for a moment. Use it. Avery clenched the edge of the console, grounding himself. Lila, where are you? More static. Then softly, as if her words were walking through fire. Alive, for now. They kept me. They needed leverage. But they underestimated human stubbornness. A short laugh followed. Weak but still hers. Finish what we started. For Renee. For all of us. The transmission cut abruptly. No signature. No trace. Nothing left but silence and a room full of officers who suddenly looked as if gravity had shifted under their feet. Avery straightened slowly, tension bleeding into purpose. Prepare the fleet for Phase 2. And open the diplomatic channels. Captain Velen's eyes narrowed. Diplomatic channels, to the Empire? Avery gave the faintest smile, one that never reached his eyes. To everyone watching. The holoscreens flared open across the bridge, patching into public networks throughout the galaxy. Millions, billions of eyes turned toward him. He stood at the center console, posture calm, expression unreadable. To the citizens of the galaxy, he began, voice steady as carved stone. Earth has acted with restraint where many would have acted with vengeance. Alien commentators fell silent. We were provoked, violated, humiliated. 2 of our greatest were taken from us in an act meant to intimidate the human race. His tone softened, almost mournful. But the Empire's cruelty has revealed something deeper than hostility. It has revealed fragility. It has revealed fear. He gestured slightly, and behind him, the battlefield feed displayed the Empire's fleets crumbling in disorganized panic under the weight of their own confusion. A civilization built on domination will always collapse when someone refuses to play its game. Humanity refused. His voice sharpened. And now, the Empire stands at the edge of dissolution, not because we destroyed them, but because they finally saw themselves clearly. A murmur resonated through the galaxy. Even hostile species paused, recognizing the strange sincerity in his words. We do not want their worlds, Avery continued. We do not want their people. We do not want their throne. A beat of silence, deliberate and precise. We want the future. A future where no empire, human or otherwise, can decide that lives are disposable. Captain Velen watched him with quiet awe. She had always known his tactician's mind, his subtle cruelty, his razor politeness, but this was something different. A man carved by grief into resolve, speaking not to terrify but to transform. Avery lifted his hand. Initiate Phase 2. Across the nebula, human ships realigned in a single sweeping motion, forming an enormous circle, an orbiting ring of steel, light, and restrained power. The formation glowed as Candlefall's array charged, its mirrored panels catching starlight like a blooming artificial dawn. Empire vessels surrounded within the ring froze, their panicked movements halting as if a divine boundary had fallen around them. The Vorthan Chancellor appeared on the central holofeed, his voice fractured with desperation. "Human! Do not fire! We surrender! We surrender unconditionally!" Avery regarded him with unblinking calm. "You misunderstand the purpose of Candlefall. This isn't a weapon aimed at you." He nodded to an operator. The panels shifted, redirecting their beams not at ships, but into the void above the Imperial homeworld. A swirling lattice of light unfolded, weaving itself into a planetary-scale shield, an encasing dome of shimmering brilliance surrounding the capital. The Empire's officers gasped. "You're trapping us?" Avery sighed gently. "Containing you. Temporarily." The Chancellor fell to his knees. "Why? If you intend victory, take it." Avery leaned forward slightly, voice lowering to something chillingly intimate. "Because ending you would be easy." He let the words settle, sinking like stones. "But rebuilding the galaxy is harder. And we choose the harder path." The galaxy erupted. Shock, disbelief, grudging admiration. It poured across screens and comm feeds in equal measure. No species had expected mercy from a cornered human. Fewer still expected philosophical mercy backed by overwhelming force. Avery continued. "The Imperial citizens will not be harmed. Aid ships are already en route with medical supplies and translators. Your armies are disarmed, your fleets disabled, your power structures immobilized. But your people will live." The Chancellor stared, trembling. "Why? Why show kindness after what we've done?" Avery's eyes darkened. "Because two women I admired believed in mercy. And because you took them from us, I refused to let their dreams die with them." The Meridian's bridge fell into soft silence. Then an alert chimed softly. A new transmission. Avery's heart thudded once hard. The voice crackled through, weak, fading, but unmistakably alive. "Avery! I knew you'd pick the harder road." General Lila Montgomery appeared on a flickering screen, bruised but smiling faintly. The Empire's leaders turned on each other after the collapse. "I slipped through the chaos." Her breathing was shallow. "I won't make it back." "But you'll finish it." Avery reached toward the screen instinctively, though his hand fell short. "Lila, hold position. We're coming." She shook her head. "No. You've done what needed doing. The galaxy saw that humans don't destroy for pleasure." Her eyes softened. Renee would be proud. The transmission degraded, static overtaking her features. "Tell Earth, we won." Then the signal vanished forever. Avery closed his eyes, just once, inhaling a shaky breath. He straightened after a moment, his grief shaped into something diamond-hard. Captain Velen whispered, "Sir." Avery's voice emerged steady. "We move to final broadcast." He addressed the galaxy once more. "Let this day mark a new era. Not one of conquest. One of truth. The Empire fell not because of our weapons, but because of its own cruelty." Candlefall shimmered behind him, a radiant promise rather than a threat. "Earth will help build what comes next. We will guide, not rule. Protect, not dominate. But understand this." He leaned closer, and the entire galaxy leaned with him. "Earth's patience has limits. Its mercy is deliberate. Its silence is warning. And its wrath, should it ever be required again, will be absolute." The final image transmitted across the stars showed Avery Hale standing tall on the Meridian's bridge, illuminated by the soft glow of Candlefall's halo. His voice, quiet and resolute, echoed through every channel. "And this," he said, "is Earth's final word." The screen faded to black,